Hey guys, welcome back to Ants Midwest. Now, I just finished recording and realized I didn't really film an intro, so here's my intro. Oh wow, there's a fruit fly in the sugar water tube. Anyways, in today's video, we're going to do a couple time lapses, one without my macro lens and one with the macro lens. And then after that, I will be feeding some fruit flies. So stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy. Alright, now I'm going to switch to the micro lens, and let's see what kind of difference it will make. So as you can see, there is a difference. As far as quality goes, there's not a whole lot difference. It does help to focus in on specifically what I'm trying to film. Um, Without the macro lens, you could kind of see more area clearly, but with the macro lens, you can see the focused area more clearly. So in this case, the more focused area is the clump of ants. Without the macro lens, you could kind of see the whole floor area and the entrance to their nest much more clear. But I do like the macro lens to be much more focused on what specifically I'm trying to record. However, I'm now going to give them some fruit flies, so I'm going to take the macro lens off so that we can see the whole outworld and see how they fare against some fruit flies. Now, I'm not going to feed them too many fruit flies because it is a little bit difficult for them to take them down. So I'm only going to put a few in so that the fruit flies will have a swift death. I don't want to make them suffer more than they already have to. So let's go ahead and put the fruit flies in now. This might be tricky. Usually whenever I try to feed them, I have some escapees, but both Crematogaster and the fruit flies escape, so we'll see what I can do. I'm going to take the lid off and set it there. Knock some fruit flies down. Alright. And oh, okay, that should be plenty of fruit flies. Actually, it was much more than I intended, but it should be okay. As you can tell, the Crematogaster are going absolutely crazy. Yeah, that was way more fruit flies than I intended to put in there. Oops. Um, I mean, they should take care of them perfectly fine. It just, yeah, that's a bunch. Um, they should be able to eat all of that as well. There should be no issues there. I haven't fed my Crematogaster fruit flies in a long time. It hasn't been since last year. Um, it's hard to follow. They're moving around very quickly. Um, they definitely don't take down the fruit flies as swiftly as the Aphaenogaster do. It's quite a bit harder for them, but let's see. I don't think they've even managed to fully take one down. I don't think I'll be feeding fruit flies again in the future, seeing as it seems more difficult than I remember for them to take the fruit flies down. So it's not really a pretty sight, and it seems a little bit gruesome. Feel free to exit the video now if you don't like watching this. It does seem a little bit brutal. So if you are uncomfortable with it, please feel free to leave. There's no pressure for you to watch. However, it is kind of interesting to see the hunting tactics of these ants. There's definitely something to be said about that. If you watch closely, you may be able to spot some spraying formic acid. They usually do this when they lift their gaster over their heads. And that's one of my favorite things about Crematogaster is that they lift their gaster over their head as a defensive stance or offensive stance in this case. So they definitely have taken a few down now. up here in the front, let me pick the camera up so you can see a little better. There are a few that they've taken down and are surrounding there. There's also plenty of workers still hunting the remaining fruit flies. I suppose once the Crematogaster have the fruit fly locked down, they seem to be dispatching them quite quickly. I have to say, it is very fascinating to watch ants hunt. In a captive setting, though, it's not required, and it can be a little bit brutal, so it's not always the best option. I would say with my Crematogaster, I will not be feeding fruit flies in the future because it does seem a little bit brutal and gruesome for the fruit flies. Um, Again, it does seem it is definitely interesting to see their hunting tactics, and it's worth noting their hunting tactics. But again, I don't recommend it. It just seems a little bit too brutal for this species. With my Aphaenogaster, they take them down very quickly. They just bite on once, they latch on, and it's over for the fruit fly in a matter of seconds. This seems a little bit more, I don't know, terrorizing for the fruit flies. But this should make for some very good protein for the colony. So looking with the macro lens again, you can see there are actually quite a few eggs now. The larvae are definitely growing. They're starting to get a little more shape to them. I don't believe any pupa yet, but that is all right. Totally fine. I'm just very happy to see the amount of eggs that they have begun to lay. You can see them scattered all around in the tube. I find it kind of interesting that they don't clump all of their brood together. This may be because I have the space heater running, so they're trying to spread them out so each individual egg and each individual larva can absorb their own heat. That's just a theory that I have, though. But you can actually see all 4 queens are right here, and there is larvae and eggs surrounding them, as well as a few workers. So after the hibernation scare, where as I took them out, I thought they were dead, it seems like they're doing great. They lost a lot of workers during hibernation, but it seems as though they will recover just fine. So I'm very happy with how they are doing, and very excited for this coming year and to watch their numbers explode. Let's go ahead and take a peek into the darkened portion of their nest. Surprisingly, in here, 4 workers and no brood. I'm guessing that that's because with the space heater running, they have more hot air or warm air flowing through this skinny tube, and it's probably a little bit colder in this more spacious area. Originally, they were keeping most of the brood, and the queens would usually be in this area or behind the tape here, but they've since acclimated to using this skinnier tube most of the time. It's probably a combination of the heat as well as just being compact and close together. But I do find it very interesting that they don't use the only dark space they have. Well, actually, they have that dark space as well, but that's so spacious that I don't think that they like it. They like to be much more compact together, like in this tube here. In hindsight, I wouldn't choose this nest for them, but it is what I had when I had it, so that's alright. Another possibility of why they're nesting in this tube versus back here is there's a potential that they just like the humidity in here better. Um, I'm not sure about that at all, but that is definitely a potential. I also can't complain because they're nesting in broad daylight right where it's perfect view and perfect for recording, so there really can't be any complaints on my end. Another thing that is kind of concerning is that I have noticed a couple of fruit flies that have fallen down their nest tube and into here. It's not that big of a deal. It just, if they were to go from this portion to this portion of the nest, it would cause some pretty big mayhem in here and quite a bit of stress, and that's not ideal. This is supposed to be a stress-free incubation chamber for the ants. It's supposed to be peaceful and just grow the brood. So it's a little concerning to have live prey coming into this portion of the nest. That's just one more reason that I don't think that I will be feeding live fruit flies to this colony again, and if I do, I will do my best to do far less than I did this time, maybe only a few at a time. I probably had like 10 or so in there with them. But checking back in the outworld, it seems as though they have apprehended and dispatched most of the fruit flies. Looking around, I only see that one living right now. Other than that, I believe that they have caught most of them. If you look here, they've actually got one caught up against the wall, two of them working on that. And that's what I'm talking about being kind of brutal. They're just pulling on that fly living, and it's kind of a brutal death. Again, no shame if you cop out of this video early. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video. I think my next update on this colony is going to be once I start seeing pupae in their nest. I don't know how long that will take. I'm thinking maybe 2 more weeks and they'll start having pupa. See, I changed how I say that. I said pupae before and now I said pupa. I'm not sure if there's a correct way to say it or not, but whatever. Anyways, that'll do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe and check out some of my other videos. Bye.